What an amazing weekend. What an amazing weekend where we saw the San Francisco 49ers start a little bit shaky with Brock Purdy, but then he knocked all that off, didn't he? And then the San Francisco 49ers advance, and then every single game after that game that was out of reach by the middle of the fourth quarter in Santa Clara, every game was right down to the end. Nail-biter this and nail-biter that and shocking this and all-timer that. Unbelievable. But I'm going to start with this show with, to me, the most surprising aspect of Super Wild Card Weekend. Super Wild Card Weekend right in the middle of Sunday. Right in the middle. And I know you could say the Jaguars coming back from a 27-point hole was surprising until you saw the team that they did it against. And then you could say that the Dolphins keeping up with the Bills for as long as they did was surprising. And then you could also say Tyler Huntley filling in for Lamar Jackson and looking like Lamar and playing as well as he did up until one of the most mind-blowing plays of him trying to reach the ball across the goal line to put the Ravens up 7, turn right around and put the Ravens down 7 as Sam Hubbard, big man with football, 98-yard rumble. You could say all of that.
That was awesome.
You could also say that Seattle's sticking with San Francisco as long as it did also. Took a lead at halftime in that game.
Halftime lead.
But the most surprising aspect was what the New York Football Giants did in Minnesota. And you could sit there and say, Rich, I pay attention to everything you say because everything you say is so important. I guess I figure if I'm putting words in people's mouths, I'll say that sort of stuff.
Someone's told you that?
But you said all along the Giants were going to win the game. I even said on game day morning, Giants were winning. I picked them. Remember, I told you all week I'm taking the Giants.
You did. Said all week.
I think it's the most surprising aspect of this is the fact that I thought the Giants were going to win because I thought the Vikings would show up in a similar manner like against the Cowboys, like against the Packers, or shaky like the first half against the Indianapolis Colts. I thought that they would be the ones making mistakes, and they came out and they scored the first 7 points of the game, and I thought to myself, uh-oh.
Oops.
I thought to myself, uh-oh, especially since the Giants' first snap of the game had a holding penalty. Holding, 1st and 20, down 7-0 with the Jolly horn going off every 2 seconds.
Skull.
But Daniel Jones and the Giants' offense rolled up their sleeves, dusted off their shoulders, and just absolutely played out of their skull. It's the way Daniel Jones showed up. It's the way that this offense showed up. It's the way that Saquon showed up. Honestly, Giants fans, after hearing Daniel Jones getting drafted in Nashville with the 6th overall pick, they're unhappy about the quarterback choice, and he was a pick 6. Remember we had our friend Joel Klatt saying this is going to set the Giants organization back years. And he was right the way that things were going. Mm-hmm. Him with Pat Shurmur, him with Joe Judge, him with Jason Garrett, who couldn't fix him. And that's the way it was going. Saquon being injured.
Yep.
Jones making mistakes. That's the way it all looked for this team. And that's all now poof, gone. Kaiser Soze like it never happened, because in those 4 years where the Giants fans were waiting for Jones and seeing even this year the way that they were playing so well, they could not have dreamt up a first playoff drive for Jones and Barkley the way that Jones and Barkley administered their first ever playoff drive. Jones was throwing darts and running himself, and then Saquon took it in on a flip play to the left, and then the Vikings go 3 and out, and the Giants go and make another touchdown drive happen. Then when it's halftime in a tight game, Giants get the ball first, boom, score another. And then when the game is tied 24-all, because the Vikings were playing, man, Justin Jefferson, oddly enough, was kind of missing in action.
Kind of.
7 catches, 47 yards.
Started off hot.
But the Giants took care of him. T.J. Hawkinson was wide open, though. Thielen was wide open. Osborne was wide open. And even with Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams in Kirk Cousins' lap, he was making throws, folks. I'm not putting this one on him. His final throw is something that we are hearing all about. But when the Giants caught a break and the Vikings' Christian Darrisaw had a false start on a 4th and an inch, and the Vikings had to settle for a field goal to tie the game instead of go into the red zone and go up and score 24-all. What did Daniel Jones do? Daniel Jones put together a touchdown drive, and then the defense won the game. And Brian Daboll, I'll tell you this.
Man.
Out of everything that this guy did this year and has turned the Giants into in his first year as head coach, the greatest trick he ever pulled off is turning Daniel Jones into Colin Kaepernick. Fact. Because that's who Daniel Jones looked like to me yesterday. And I was trying to put my finger on it, seeing somebody showing up where they're running it. He ran it 17 times on Sunday, which is 5 more than a career high and 3 shy of Lamar Jackson's record for most carries in a playoff game by a quarterback, 20. And he's throwing it, and he's tall, and he's tough to put down, and his strides gain so many yards. And the ball's shooting out of his arm, and he's hitting windows right on the dot. And then the NFL Network research packet pops into my email inbox yesterday, and this stat jumped out at me. With his 301 yards passing and 78 yards rushing, yes, he's the first quarterback ever in a single playoff game with 300 or more passing yards, 2 or more passing touchdowns, and 70 or more rushing touchdowns. That's never happened before. That's how Daniel Jones came out of the gate. But this one, third quarterback ever with 375 or more offensive yards combined and a win in his first career postseason start. The other 2 quarterbacks, Kurt Warner in 99, when he damn near threw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. No rushing. The other quarterback, Colin Kaepernick in 2012.
Against the Packers?
You remember that game?
I do.
When I called him like the ATM.
Yeah.
He was an ATM. You put the card in, and out popped runner. You had to just choose run or pass instead of checking or savings, and the money comes out.
He balled out.
He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Let's not forget. Brian Daboll has turned Daniel Jones into Colin Kaepernick.
I never would have ever put those two together until you mentioned it.
Boom.
Wow.
And if this defense can ball out like this, and a running game can look like that, and Daniel Jones can play like this, you tell me. Because in the same way that we're saying Chargers going to Charger, right? All that sort of business. On the flip side of that, you tell me another franchise that puts together a Super Bowl run out of the blue. Quite like the Big Blue. We've seen it.
Twice.
Remember this past week? I said to myself, Daniel Jones sounds like Eli, talks like Eli, mannerisms just like Eli. I think he's going to show up with that knack of playing big in playoff games like Eli, and instead of showing up like Eli, he showed up like Kaepernick. Vintage. Look out, Eagles. That's all I'm saying. Look out.
Yeah, I think so.
Because if they could stop the run on the way to the pass and then take advantage of whatever injuries they might have still in their secondary. I don't care that some of these receivers you've never heard of before. Well, you will now. That was a surprise to me. Big time. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.